of Navarre, and I was born in 1528 in Paris. My parents were King Henry and Queen Margaret of Navarre, whom you've already met. My mother was a very godly lady, but sadly, I was not able to be raised by my parents, but instead I was raised by my uncle, the King of France, because he wanted me to be surrounded by the Roman Catholic influences. But I was described by my parents as an open, fearless girl who loved the truth. When I was 14 years old, I was forced to marry for advantage, but I refused to comply and had to be carried down to the marriage altar. But it was around this time that I came into contact with the Reformed faith. Later, when my marriage became disadvantageous, it was annulled, and I didn't remarry until I was 20 years old. I had 5 children, one of whom was Henry IV. On Christmas Day in 1560, I publicly proclaimed that I was a follower of the Reformed faith. My husband and I ruled Navarre by now, which was our small country south of France, and for years we brought Protestant ministers to our court. After my husband's death, I was able to decree all free worship. Now, the Queen of France wanted me just to pretend to go along with the Catholics, but I told her that I would rather take my kingdom and plunge it to the bottom of the sea than do that. The Reformation of the Christian faith is so right and so necessary that I would be disloyal and a coward before God and my people if I failed to join it. When my enemies threatened me that I would lose power as queen, I told them I would rather be poor than cease to serve God. Finally, war broke out between the Catholics and the Huguenots, and in Navarre our general was killed and our men had lost their courage. So I and my son, who was heir to the French throne, we raced to the battlefield, and I encouraged them, saying, "Does his memory demand nothing but profitless tears? No, now let us unite and summon back our courage to defend a cause which can never perish." After I told them this, they hailed my son as their new leader. My son, Henry of Navarre, became King of France after my death. He issued the Edict of Nantes, which helped end the religious wars in France once and for all. My son Henry was to marry Margaret of France, and I did not approve of this marriage, and I feared greatly that there was going to be a deception somewhere. But I was counseled that the joining of a Catholic and a Huguenot would result in France becoming Protestant. Instead, it was that fateful marriage why so many Huguenots were in Paris on St. Bartholomew's Day. The anxiety proved to be too much for me, and after a short illness, probably caused by poisoning, I died. My last act was to make my son promise to remain true to the scriptures and the Reformed faith. My dying words were these: "I have never feared death, and I do not dare to murmur at the will of God. Yet, I grieve deeply to leave my children exposed to so many dangers. Still, I trusted all to him." Thank you.